You now understand that your thoughts are not facts, they are habits. Some of them old, deeply rooted, reinforced over years of repetition. And just like any habit, they can be changed, rewired, replaced. But knowing this is only the first step. The real transformation begins when you learn how to catch those thoughts before they control you, before they shape your emotions, before they dictate your actions. Because if you don't intercept them early, they will run the show. Automatically, unconsciously, powerfully. So imagine this. You wake up in the morning and instantly feel that familiar weight, that subtle tension in your chest. A thought pops into your mind. I'm behind. I should have done more. I'm not where I want to be. And just like that, your day is off to a negative start. You didn't choose it. It just happened. That's how these patterns work. They're fast, automatic, like reflexes. But here's the key. You don't have to follow them blindly. You can pause. You can notice. You can ask yourself, is this thought helping me, or is it hurting me? That single moment of awareness changes everything. Because once you see your thoughts for what they are, just passing clouds, not permanent storms, you begin to separate yourself from them. You stop identifying with them so completely. You stop letting them define your mood, your confidence, your entire day. And that distance gives you power, the power to choose differently. But how do you actually do this in real life? How do you build the skill of catching your thoughts before they take control? It starts with something called metacognition, the ability to observe your thinking without getting caught up in it. It's not about stopping your thoughts. That's impossible. It's about changing your relationship with them, seeing them as visitors, not landlords, as suggestions, not commands. Here's how it works. The next time a negative thought appears, and it will, don't fight it. Don't try to push it away. Just notice it, label it, call it what it is. There's that fear again. There's that old belief creeping in. There's the voice that tells me I'm not enough. Naming it takes away its mystery. It makes it smaller, more manageable, and suddenly, instead of being trapped inside the thought, you're standing beside it, looking at it with clarity. Then comes the second step, questioning it. Not in an aggressive way, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Is it even true? Has it ever helped me before? Often you'll find that the answer is no, that the thought is outdated, that it was formed in childhood or during a difficult time, or based on someone else's opinion of you, not reality. And once you realize that, it loses its grip. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to let distorted thinking run your life. It's about recognizing that just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it deserves your attention, or your belief, or your obedience. And here's the most powerful part. Every time you practice this, you weaken the hold of negativity. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you build new neural pathways. Every time you question instead of accepting, you train your brain to respond differently. This is how change happens. Not in one big dramatic shift, but in small, consistent moments of awareness. Because remember, you are not trying to eliminate negative thoughts forever. That's unrealistic. What you're doing is building a new relationship with them, one where you are in control, where you get to decide which thoughts serve you, and which ones you release. And the more you do this, the stronger you become. The more space you create for clarity, for peace, for possibility. You begin to notice things you didn't before, moments of joy, small victories, quiet confidence. You start seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to trust yourself more, to speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism, to act from a place of strength instead of fear. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering who you already are beneath all the noise, beneath the layers of doubt, worry, and self-sabotage. It's about reconnecting with your true self, the one that knows how to lead, how to grow, how to heal. And the best part? You don't need permission to start. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin with one breath, one choice, one moment of awareness. Because the truth is, you already have everything you need. You have the power to observe your thoughts, to question them, to change them. And with every step forward, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are not at the mercy of your mind. You are its master. And that mastery begins right now, in this very moment, with the simple decision to stop following every thought that appears, and start choosing which ones deserve your energy. Because you were never meant to be controlled by your mind. You were meant to lead it, to guide it, to use it as a tool, not let it become your prison. And once you start doing that, really doing that, you'll never go back. You've just begun to reclaim your power. You've learned how to catch your thoughts before they control you, how to observe them without being pulled under. And with that awareness comes something even greater, the ability to choose what replaces them. Because silence isn't the goal. Peace isn't found in the absence of thought. It's found in the presence of better ones. Thoughts that lift you up instead of dragging you down. Thoughts that guide you forward instead of trapping you in fear. This is where true transformation begins. Not in trying to stop negativity, but in redirecting your focus toward what truly matters. Because here's the truth. You can't stop negative thoughts from appearing. They will always come. But you can choose what to give your energy to, what to dwell on, what to feed with your attention. And every time you shift your focus towards something purposeful, meaningful, or empowering, you weaken the grip of negativity and strengthen your inner strength. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't plant anything intentional, weeds will grow naturally. Negativity doesn't need effort to survive. It thrives when left unchallenged. But if you begin planting seeds of gratitude, vision, and self-belief, something incredible happens. Those weeds lose their ground. The more you water what you want, the less space there is for what you don't. So how do you start? By making a daily commitment, not to perfection, but to progress. To showing up for yourself mentally, the way you would for someone you deeply care about. Because you are worth that kind of attention, that kind of intention, that kind of love. Start by asking yourself this: what am I focusing on right now? Is it what's going wrong, what you lack, what you fear, or is it what's possible? What you're working toward, what you're grateful for? Because whatever you focus on becomes your reality. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's repeated. So why not fill your mind with thoughts that serve you? Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for shifting your mindset. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to see the good that still exists, even in the middle of struggle. Even in the darkest moments, there is something to be thankful for. A breath, a lesson, a small win, a moment of peace. And when you train your brain to notice these things consistently, you begin to rewire it for resilience. Then there's visualization. The act of seeing your future clearly in your mind is not wishful thinking. It's preparation. When you visualize success, growth, and fulfillment, you activate the same neural pathways as if you were actually doing it. You build confidence. You reduce fear. You create momentum before you even take the first step. And over time, your brain starts to believe in that version of yourself, because you've already lived it thousands of times in your mind. And let's not forget affirmations, but not the empty kind that float around social media. Real affirmations, the kind that challenge your limiting beliefs and replace them with truth. I am capable. I grow through what I go through. I choose courage over comfort. These aren't just words, they're declarations. Repeated often enough, they become your new identity. Because here's the thing, you are always speaking to yourself. Whether you realize it or not, there is an internal voice shaping your experience every second of the day. So why not make sure it's saying something helpful? Why not turn that voice into your greatest ally instead of your worst enemy? And don't worry if it feels forced at first. Change is uncomfortable, growth is messy, but consistency beats intensity every single time. 5 minutes a day of intentional focus will do more than 1 hour of forced positivity once in a while. This isn't about dramatic transformation overnight. It's about steady, unwavering movement in the direction you want to go. Because you deserve to feel peace. You deserve to believe in yourself. You deserve to live with purpose. And none of that requires waiting for the perfect moment. None of it depends on having all the answers. All it needs is your willingness to start. So today, choose differently. Choose to plant something positive in your mind, even if you don't feel like it yet. Choose to speak to yourself with kindness, even when old voices try to pull you back. Choose to focus on what uplifts you, even when the world tries to drag you down. Because the war within you does not have to be endless. It only lasts as long as you allow it. And the moment you decide to fight back, not with force, but with focus, you begin to win. And that victory starts now, with your next thought. You are beginning to understand something most people never do. Your words shape your world. Not just the ones you speak out loud, but the ones you say to yourself in the quiet moments. The ones that run silently in the background of your mind, dictating how you feel, what you believe, and ultimately what you create in life. Language is not just a tool for communication. It's a force that builds your reality. And every time you use language that limits you, you shrink your potential. Every time you speak with strength, clarity, and purpose, you expand it. Think about the last time you said something like, I can't, or I'm not good enough. How did it make you feel? Small? Powerless? Trapped? Now imagine replacing those words with something different. Not fake positivity, but honest, empowering language. I don't know how yet. This is difficult, but I'm learning. I may not be where I want to be, but I'm moving forward. Just a slight shift in phrasing creates a massive shift in mindset. That's the power of intentional language. Because here's the truth. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's repeated. If you keep telling yourself you're stuck, you'll start to believe it, even if it's not true. If you constantly frame challenges as threats instead of opportunities, your brain will follow suit and flood you with fear instead of focus. But when you begin to choose your words with care, when you speak to yourself like someone you love and respect, you change the entire conversation inside your mind. And this isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about creating long-term freedom from negative thinking. Because once you recognize the impact of your language, you gain control over your inner world. You stop feeding the cycle of self-doubt. You stop reinforcing the belief that failure defines you. You stop waiting for confidence to magically appear before taking action. Instead, you begin building it through the words you choose today. So ask yourself, what kind of language have you been using lately? Have you been speaking to yourself like an ally or like an enemy? Are your words helping you move forward or holding you back? Because every time you say I'm tired, you give yourself permission to quit. Every time you say I have to, you strip away your sense of choice. Every time you say I always fail, you lock yourself into a pattern that feels impossible to break. But what if you changed that script? What if you started using language that empowers instead of defeats? What if you replaced I can't with how can I? Replaced I'm too scared with I'm choosing courage anyway? Replace this is too hard with this is worth it? These aren't just small shifts, they're seismic changes in the way you approach life. Because language shapes behavior. Behavior shapes habits. Habits shape destiny. So when you begin to speak differently to yourself, you begin to act differently. When you act differently, you begin to see results. And when you see results, your beliefs about yourself begin to change. Suddenly, you're not just trying to think positively. You're proving to yourself that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are more than your doubts. And here's what makes this even more powerful. You don't need anyone else's approval to start. You don't need permission to change the way you talk to yourself. You don't need external validation to decide that you deserve better words. This is entirely within your control. No matter what's happening around you, no matter what challenges you face, no matter what mistakes you've made, you get to choose how you respond with your language. Because words are not just expressions of thought, they are tools of creation. Every sentence you speak internally becomes a blueprint for your actions. Every phrase you repeat becomes a foundation for your identity. And the more you fill your mind with language that supports growth, resilience, and self-belief, the more those qualities become part of who you are. So today, make a commitment. Not to perfection, but to progress. Commit to watching your words more closely, to catching the moments when you slip into limiting language, to pausing, reflecting, and choosing something more empowering instead. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because you deserve to live in a world where your thoughts lift you up instead of dragging you down. And remember, you are not just changing your vocabulary, you are changing your life, one word at a time. You now understand the immense power of your words, the way they shape your thoughts, influence your emotions, and ultimately determine the life you build. And yet, there's one more piece of this puzzle that most people overlook, one silent force that keeps negativity alive in their minds long after they've decided to change. It's not just what you say to yourself, it's what you carry from the past, the weight of old wounds, lingering grudges, and unspoken pain. Because here's the truth, holding on to resentment doesn't hurt the person who wronged you, it hurts you. It keeps your mind stuck in a cycle of bitterness, replaying the past over and over like a broken record, while your present slips away unnoticed. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's not about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's not even about excusing someone else's actions. True forgiveness is about reclaiming your peace, about refusing to let someone else's mistake continue to steal your joy, your energy, your future. Because every time you hold on to anger, you give the past control over your present. You allow pain to dictate your mindset. You keep feeding negative thinking with fuel it doesn't deserve. Think about it. How many times have you replayed an old hurt in your mind? How often have you relived a betrayal, a rejection, or a disappointment, as if it were happening all over again? And what did it give you? Relief? Justice? Peace? Or did it simply leave you exhausted, drained, and trapped in a loop of frustration? That's the cost of holding on to resentment. It doesn't protect you, it punishes you. It tells your brain that danger is still present when in reality the moment has already passed. And yet, letting go feels impossible. Because forgiveness is not a single act, it's a process. A choice you make again and again until it becomes second nature. Until you no longer feel the need to carry the weight of the past with you everywhere you go. Until you realize that your peace is worth more than your pain. Because here's what science shows. Holding on to anger floods your body with stress hormones. It weakens resilience. It clouds judgment. It fuels anxiety and depression. But when you begin to release that burden, even just a little, you create space for something new. Clarity, strength, freedom. That's why forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of inner power. It takes strength to walk away from the story that hurt you. It takes courage to choose peace over punishment. It takes wisdom to understand that your healing matters more than being right. So ask yourself this: what are you still carrying that no longer serves you? Who do you need to forgive? Not because they deserve it, but because you do. It could be someone who hurt you years ago. It could be a version of yourself that you can't seem to let go of. It could be life itself, for not going the way you planned. Whatever it is, know this: you don't have to forget what happened. You don't have to pretend it didn't matter. You just have to stop letting it define your mindset today. Because every ounce of energy you spend on resentment is energy you're not using to build the life you want. Every moment you waste reliving the past is a moment you lose in the present. And if you truly want to end negative thinking, you must also end the war you're still fighting in your mind. Not by erasing the battle, but by choosing to lay down your weapons. This is not easy. No one said it would be. Healing never is. But growth was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be powerful. And the moment you decide that your peace is more important than your pain, everything begins to shift. You start waking up lighter. You start moving forward without dragging the past behind you. You begin speaking to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. You stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You stop making your happiness conditional on someone else's behavior. And most importantly, you begin to see that your mind is no longer a battlefield, but a sanctuary. Because forgiveness is not just about others, it's about you. It's about giving yourself permission to heal, to grow, to live without the chains of old wounds pulling you back. It's about realizing that you are not weak for wanting peace. You are strong for choosing it, again and again, no matter how hard it feels. And when you do that, when you finally let go, you'll notice something incredible. The negativity that once felt so loud becomes quiet. The thoughts that used to trap you lose their grip. The cycle begins to break, not because everything suddenly became perfect, but because you stopped letting imperfection control your mind. So take a breath. Let go of whatever is still holding you back. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. Because your peace is worth more than your pain. And because the next chapter of your life begins the moment you choose to release the last. That freedom is waiting for you. All you have to do is reach for it. You've just taken one of the most powerful steps in ending negative thinking, releasing the weight of the past. Forgiveness is not the end of your journey, but the gateway to something even greater, a mindset that refuses to be controlled by fear, doubt, or old patterns. A mindset that doesn't just survive negativity, but resists it. That doesn't just react to life, but leads it. And that doesn't wait for perfect conditions, but builds strength regardless of circumstances. Because here's what most people don't understand. Mindset isn't just how you feel on your best days. It's how you show up on your worst. It's how you respond when things fall apart. When you're hurt, rejected, or overwhelmed. When the world feels unfair and progress seems impossible. That's when your mindset becomes your lifeline. Not because it magically fixes everything, but because it gives you the power to keep going anyway. And building that kind of mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's not about sudden inspiration or dramatic breakthroughs. It's about daily choices, small consistent decisions that shape who you become. The decision to speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. The decision to see challenges as opportunities instead of threats. The decision to take action even when motivation is nowhere to be found. This is what resilience truly is. Not some unshakable strength that never wavers, but the ability to bend without breaking. To fall without staying down, to face pain without letting it define your future. And the foundation of that resilience? A mindset built intentionally, not left to chance. Because your mind is not neutral. If you don't shape it, something else will. Your environment, your past experiences, the voices around you. Negativity will always try to creep in. It's the default setting of an untrained mind. But once you begin training your brain to think differently, you create a new default. One rooted in curiosity instead of criticism. In gratitude instead of greed. In action instead of anxiety. That starts with understanding one of the most powerful psychological principles ever discovered, the growth mindset. Coined by psychologist Carol Dweck, this concept reveals a simple truth. People who believe their abilities can be developed outperform those who believe they are fixed. Because when you believe you can grow, you stop fearing failure. You stop seeing effort as proof of weakness. You stop defining yourself by setbacks. Instead, you see every challenge as a chance to learn, every mistake as feedback, every loss as a lesson. And that changes everything, because if you believe your mindset is unchangeable, then every failure becomes permanent. Every setback becomes proof that you're not good enough. But if you believe your mindset can evolve, then nothing is final, nothing is fatal, everything is temporary, everything is teachable, everything is workable. So ask yourself, Do you see yourself as someone who can grow, or someone who must already be perfect? Do you view challenges as threats or as tests of your potential? Are you more focused on proving yourself or improving yourself? The answers to these questions determine whether you live in fear of failure or in pursuit of growth, whether you let setbacks shrink your confidence or expand your capacity, whether you allow criticism to crush you or use it to refine yourself. Because here's the secret: mindset is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about embracing it. It's about developing the inner strength to walk into uncertainty and still move forward, to feel fear and still act, to face pain and still choose peace. And that kind of mindset doesn't come from waiting for the right moment. It comes from choosing to build it every single day. Start now. Start small. Begin with awareness. Notice when your thoughts lean toward limitation. Catch the moments when you say, "I can't" or "I'm not ready." Replace them with "I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm capable." Surround yourself with language that lifts you higher. Feed your mind with ideas that challenge you. Surround yourself with people who push you forward, not pull you back. Create habits that reinforce your strength. Gratitude, visualization, intentional focus. Build rituals that remind you who you are becoming. Because mindset is not something you find, it's something you build, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action. And every time you choose resilience over resistance, courage over comfort, growth over stagnation, you strengthen it further. You don't need to be fearless to change your life. You just need to be willing to keep going, even when it's hard, even when you doubt yourself, even when the road ahead feels uncertain. Because the strongest mindset is not the one that never struggles, it's the one that keeps moving anyway. And that mindset begins today, with your next choice. You now understand that mindset is not something you're born with. It's something you build, every day, with every choice, every word, every action. And as your inner strength grows, so does your awareness of something even more powerful, the world around you. Not just the people or the circumstances, but the invisible forces shaping your thoughts without you realizing it. Because here's the truth. Your environment is not just a backdrop to your life. It is one of the most influential drivers of your thinking. And if you want to end negative thinking for good, you must take full responsibility for what you allow into your mind. Think about this. The human brain is wired to mirror what it's exposed to. That's why being around negativity pulls you down without you even trying. Why spending time with someone who complains constantly makes you feel drained. Why scrolling through endless bad news fills you with anxiety. Why toxic relationships leave you questioning your worth. It's not just about willpower, it's about influence. And if you surround yourself with voices, images, and messages that reinforce fear, doubt, or despair, then that's exactly what your mind will begin to believe. But here's the good news. Just as negativity spreads easily, so does positivity. Just as discouragement infects your mindset, so does encouragement. The right environment doesn't just support your growth, it accelerates it. It lifts you when you feel low. It reminds you of your strength when you forget. It fuels your momentum when motivation fades. And once you begin curating your surroundings with intention, everything starts to change. Because you were never meant to grow in isolation. You were designed to thrive within influence. From those who challenge you, inspire you, and push you toward your highest potential. That's why the people you spend time with shape your habits, your beliefs, and ultimately your results. If you want to think differently, you must expose yourself to different energy, different perspectives, different conversations. Surround yourself with those who speak with purpose, not complaint. With those who lead with courage, not fear. With those who see obstacles as opportunities, not reasons to quit. These are the people who remind you of who you're capable of becoming, not who you used to be. And the more you immerse yourself in their presence, the more your own mindset begins to shift. But it doesn't stop there. What you consume matters just as much as who you surround yourself with. Your phone, your social media, the shows you watch, the books you read, they all feed your mind. And if you fill your days with content that focuses on drama, conflict, and fear, that's exactly what your brain will start expecting from life. But if you begin choosing content that educates, empowers, and uplifts, if you invest in ideas that expand your thinking instead of shrink it, you'll notice something incredible happening. Your thoughts will begin to change. Your language will shift. Your confidence will rise. Because you're no longer feeding the cycle of negativity. You're breaking it. And don't underestimate the power of your physical space either. A cluttered room breeds a cluttered mind. A messy workspace feeds distraction. A chaotic home creates internal chaos. Clean your space. Organize your life. Create an environment where peace can exist, where focus can thrive, where inspiration can settle in and stay. Because here's the reality. You cannot control everything in your life, but you can control what you let in. You can choose your influences. You can decide what voices get access to your mind. You can filter out the noise and make space for what truly serves you. And when you do, something remarkable happens. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your energy becomes stronger. Your sense of direction becomes sharper. This is how you protect your progress. This is how you maintain momentum. This is how you keep negativity from creeping back in unnoticed. So ask yourself, what needs to change in your environment to support the mindset you're building? Who should you spend more time with? And who should you distance yourself from? What kind of content should you be consuming? What habits need to be removed? And what new ones should take their place? Because growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And the more intentional you become about your environment, the more powerful your mindset becomes. You deserve to be surrounded by fuel, not fire. By elevation, not exhaustion. By clarity, not confusion. So start today. Make one small change. Remove something that drains you. Add something that inspires you. Choose one person who lifts you up and give them your attention. Pick one book, one podcast, one idea that challenges you to think bigger. Because your environment shapes your thinking, and your thinking shapes your life. And the moment you take full responsibility for what you allow in, you gain complete power over where you go next. You've already done the inner work. You've begun to understand your mind, to catch your thoughts before they control you, to replace negativity with purposeful focus. You've forgiven what needed to be released and built a mindset that resists fear instead of feeding it. You've taken responsibility for your environment, what you consume, who you surround yourself with, how you shape your space. And now something powerful begins to happen. You start to feel momentum. But here's where most people fall short. Not because they don't want change, but because they wait for motivation to strike before taking action. They believe that once they feel ready, once they feel confident, once they feel inspired, then, and only then, they will move forward. But that's not how real transformation works. Real change doesn't come from waiting to feel right. It comes from doing what's right, even when you don't feel like it. Because motivation is fleeting. It fades. It disappears overnight. It hides when you need it most. But action? Action creates its own energy. It builds its own fuel. It generates movement, and movement generates more movement. That's the secret no one tells you. You don't need to feel motivated to begin. You just need to begin, and motivation will follow. Think about the last time you waited for the perfect moment. How long did you wait? Days? Weeks? Months? And what did that waiting cost you? Opportunities lost, growth delayed, progress denied. Because here's the truth, the perfect moment does not exist. There will always be a reason to hesitate, always be something pulling you back, always be a voice whispering, not yet. And if you listen to that voice long enough, you'll wake up one day realizing you never started at all. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop giving power to the idea that you need to feel a certain way before you act. Because the strongest version of you, the one you're trying to become, was never born from waiting. It was born from action. From choosing to move forward even when you didn't know how it would turn out, even when doubt was loud, even when fear was real. Every step you take, no matter how small, builds unstoppable momentum. Every choice to speak differently to yourself strengthens your mindset. Every decision to walk into discomfort expands your capacity. Every time you do what you said you would, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are not ruled by your emotions. You lead them. And this isn't about massive leaps or grand gestures. It's about showing up, doing the next right thing, taking one small action today that proves to yourself you are serious about change. Whether it's speaking to yourself with kindness instead of criticism, whether it's walking away from a conversation that drains you, whether it's setting a boundary, making a plan, or simply choosing gratitude in the middle of struggle. These actions may seem small, but they are seismic, because each one reinforces who you are becoming. Each one feeds the mindset you're building. Each one shifts your identity from someone who waits to someone who acts. Because here's the reality. You cannot think your way into action. You must act your way into new thinking. You don't get clarity by sitting still. You get it by moving forward. You don't build confidence by waiting for certainty. You build it by proving to yourself again and again that you can handle whatever comes next. That's why the most powerful question you can ask yourself right now is not, do I feel ready? It's, what can I do today, right now, that moves me forward? Maybe it's writing down one limiting belief and replacing it with something empowering. Maybe it's removing something from your life that no longer serves you. Maybe it's reaching out to someone who lifts you up. Maybe it's simply breathing through a moment of anxiety instead of letting it control you. Whatever it is, do it. Not because it's easy, not because you feel like it, but because you know what's at stake. Because you understand that growth happens outside of comfort. Because you recognize that every time you act in alignment with who you want to be, You reinforce that identity until it becomes your reality. Because here's what happens when you choose action over inertia. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe in your ability to change. You begin to see that you are not stuck. You are simply choosing whether to move or not. And the moment you decide to move, really move, everything changes. Because momentum is not created by waiting. It's created by doing. And the time to do is now. You've taken action. You've moved forward even when motivation wasn't there. You've chosen to build a mindset that resists negativity, to shape your environment instead of letting it shape you. And in doing so, you've already changed more than you realize. But here's the truth about transformation. It doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in waves. There are peaks where everything feels clear, powerful, and aligned. And then there are valleys, where old patterns try to return, doubt creeps back in, and progress seems slower than before. And that's okay, because growth was never meant to be a straight line. It was always meant to be a spiral, a cycle of rising, falling, learning, and rising again, each time from a higher level than before. And if you're expecting perfection in this process, you're setting yourself up for frustration, not because you're failing, but because you're human. That's why it's so important to understand this. Setbacks are not proof of failure. They are part of the journey. Every time you slip back into negative thinking, every time you feel overwhelmed, every time you question whether you're making progress, you are not going backward. You are simply being reminded that change takes time, that real growth is built through persistence, not perfection. Because here's what most people don't tell you. The strongest minds aren't the ones that never struggle. They're the ones who keep showing up anyway. The ones who accept that some days will be harder than others, but still choose to do what matters. The ones who understand that progress isn't measured by how flawless your path is, but by how consistently you move forward. So when you find yourself slipping, don't punish yourself. Don't use it as proof that you can't change. Instead, recognize it for what it is. A momentary setback, not a final destination. Because the moment you stop judging yourself for struggling is the moment you begin to truly grow. Self-compassion is not weakness. It is strength disguised as kindness. It's the ability to look at yourself with understanding instead of criticism. To say, I'm not where I want to be yet, and that's okay. To remind yourself that healing, growth, and transformation take time, and that just because you haven't arrived doesn't mean you're not moving forward. Because let's be honest, this work is hard. Rewiring your mind, breaking old habits, choosing new thoughts over familiar ones. That doesn't happen easily. It requires courage. It demands consistency. It asks for resilience in the face of discomfort. And anyone who tells you it should be easy either hasn't done the work or isn't being honest. But here's the reward. Every time you come back after a setback, you prove something powerful to yourself. You prove that you are not ruled by your emotions, that you are not trapped by your past, that you are not defined by one bad day or one negative thought. You prove that you are capable of getting back up, even when it hurts. And that kind of resilience, that builds unshakable confidence. Because you no longer need external validation to know your worth. You don't need perfect conditions to believe in yourself. You have lived through the struggle. You have seen yourself rise again, and that experience becomes the foundation of your inner strength. So don't give up on yourself now. Don't walk away from the progress you've made just because it doesn't feel fast enough. Don't abandon the mindset you've been building because you had one difficult day. Because that's exactly what the old patterns want. They want you to quit when it gets hard. They want you to believe that if it's not easy, it must not be worth it. But it is. Every step you take, even the ones that feel small, is shaping the life you want. Every choice to speak kindly to yourself, to redirect your focus, to forgive instead of hold on to pain, it all adds up. Every decision to act despite fear, to show up even when you don't feel like it, to keep going when giving up would be easier, it all counts. Because progress is not measured in grand gestures alone. It's measured in daily choices, in moments of awareness, in the willingness to begin again. And if you're reading this right now, it means you haven't stopped. It means you're still here, still trying, still growing. And that makes you stronger than you think. So keep going, keep choosing better thoughts, keep reinforcing better habits, keep building better beliefs. And when you stumble, as you inevitably will, don't let it derail you. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Let it remind you that you are human, but also unstoppable. Because this journey isn't about reaching some distant finish line. It's about becoming someone who never stops moving forward. And that person, the one who keeps going despite the setbacks, who grows through the pain, who refuses to quit, is already within you. All you have to do is keep choosing them, one step at a time. You've come so far. You face the truth about your mind, how it tricks you, how it holds on to pain, how it clings to old patterns that no longer serve you. You've learned how to catch your thoughts before they control you, how to replace negativity with purposeful focus, how to build a mindset that resists fear instead of feeding it. You've made powerful changes, not just in what you think, but in how you live. And yet there's still one final realization that will change everything. You are not your thoughts. Say that to yourself again. Let it sink in. You are not the voice in your head that doubts, criticizes, or fears. You are not the automatic reaction that tries to keep you safe by holding you back. You are not the stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, or what you're capable of. Those are just passing clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. You are the observer, and that changes everything. Because once you understand that you are not trapped inside your thoughts, but standing beside them, you gain something incredibly powerful: freedom, the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your attention, which ones to follow, which ones to release. Because the moment you realize that you are not your thinking, you step into the role of the leader, not the prisoner of your own mind. That's the secret most people never discover. They spend their whole lives reacting to their thoughts as if they were facts, as if every negative idea, every painful memory, every limiting belief was a command they had to obey. But you now know the truth. Your thoughts are not your identity. They are visitors. Some helpful, some harmful, all temporary. So why let the harmful ones run your life? Why continue giving power to ideas that hold you back from what you truly want? Why keep believing that failure defines you, that rejection proves you're not enough, that fear should always be followed? These thoughts may appear, but they do not have to control you. Not anymore. Because here's what happens when you stop identifying with your negative thinking. Peace returns. Clarity returns. Power returns. You begin to see that you were never broken. You were simply caught in a cycle that you didn't know how to break. And now you do. You've built awareness. You've developed resilience. You've created habits that support your growth instead of sabotage it. You've changed your language, reshaped your environment, and chosen action over hesitation. And through all of it, you've discovered something deeper than motivation. You've discovered who you really are, not the version of yourself shaped by past wounds, external expectations, or self-doubt. Not the person who waits for permission, for certainty, for the perfect moment, but the version of you that shows up anyway, that leads your own mind with strength and clarity, that chooses peace over pain, that builds meaning over misery, that steps forward even when fear is loud. That person's always been there, waiting beneath the noise, beneath the layers of doubt, disappointment, and self-sabotage. And now, after everything you've done, that person is finally stepping into the light. So ask yourself this: who do you want to be from this moment forward? Do you want to keep letting old thoughts define your future? Or do you want to take full responsibility for what comes next? Do you want to keep waiting for confidence to arrive? Or do you want to build it through action? Do you want to keep replaying the past? Or do you want to create a new story? The choice is yours. It always has been. Because you are not at the mercy of your mind. You are its master. You are not ruled by your emotions. You lead them. You are not defined by your past. You shape your future. And now, knowing everything you know, you have only one real responsibility: to act on it. To take everything you've learned and use it to build the life you deserve. To speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. To respond with courage instead of fear. To move forward even when things feel uncertain. To choose progress over perfection. To believe in yourself even when doubt whispers otherwise. Because you are capable. You are strong. You are worthy of peace, success, and fulfillment. And none of that depends on being perfect. It only depends on being consistent, on choosing differently, one thought, one action, one moment at a time. This journey does not end here. It continues with every decision you make moving forward. Every time you catch a negative thought. Every time you redirect your focus. Every time you choose to lead your mind instead of being led by it. You now have everything you need. No more excuses. No more waiting. No more letting fear decide your path. Because the war within you was never meant to last forever. It ends the moment you decide to observe your thoughts instead of obey them. And that moment is now. So breathe. Step into the power of awareness and begin again, with intention, with clarity, with unstoppable determination. Because you are not your thoughts. You are the observer. And that makes all the difference. You now understand something few ever do. You are not trapped by your thoughts. You are simply observing them from a place of newfound clarity. And that awareness, that quiet knowing that you are the witness and not the victim, is the most powerful transformation of all. Because once you see that your mind is not your enemy but a tool, one that can be guided, shaped, and mastered, you unlock a strength that was always within you. But here's what happens next. The real test begins, not in the moments when everything feels aligned, but in the ones when doubt creeps back in, when life throws you off balance, when old patterns try to return like familiar ghosts whispering in your ear. That's when your true growth is revealed. Not in how perfectly you maintain peace, but in how quickly you return to it. Not in never falling into negative thinking, but in how deliberately you rise from it. Because this is not about silencing your mind forever. That's impossible. This is about changing your relationship with your thoughts, about no longer letting them control your emotions, dictate your actions, or define your identity. You've already built the foundation. Now, it's time to live from it, to walk through life with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are in charge of your own mind. And that changes everything. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that you don't have to believe every voice in your head. Imagine hearing that familiar whisper of self-doubt, not fighting it, not feeding it, but simply watching it pass like a cloud in the sky. Imagine stepping into difficult situations without needing to be perfect, just present. Stepping into conversations without needing approval, just authenticity. Stepping into challenges without needing guarantees, just courage. That's what this journey has been leading to. Not just temporary relief from negativity, but lasting freedom from its grip. Not just a calmer mind, but a stronger one. Not just better thinking, but a new way of being. And the beauty of it is, you don't need permission to start living this way. You don't need to wait for motivation, for perfect conditions, or for someone else to tell you that you're ready. You are ready. Right now, in this moment. With everything you've learned, everything you've changed, and everything you've let go of. So ask yourself, who will you choose to be from this point forward? Will you keep reacting to your thoughts as if they are facts, or will you begin responding to them with intention? Will you continue waiting for confidence to arrive, or will you build it with every action you take? Will you keep replaying the past, or will you create a future that reflects who you truly want to be? The answer lies not in what you say, but in what you do. Because knowledge without action is just another form of procrastination, and you've done too much work to stop now. So take one step today, just one, something small, yet meaningful. Speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. Choose curiosity over fear. Refuse to engage with a thought that no longer serves you. Set a boundary. Make a plan. Take a risk. Believe in yourself even when doubt says otherwise. Because every time you act in alignment with who you want to be, you reinforce that version of yourself until it becomes your reality. This is not just about ending negative thinking. It's about replacing it with something far more powerful. Purpose, clarity, strength, resilience. A mindset that doesn't just survive, but thrives. And as you move forward, remember this. You were never meant to be ruled by your mind. You were meant to lead it, to guide it, to use it as a tool rather than let it become your prison. So breathe. Recognize how far you've come. Acknowledge the strength it took to get here, and know that the best is still ahead. Not because life will suddenly become easy, but because you are becoming stronger. You are capable, you are resilient, you are in control. And that power, the ability to shape your thinking, your actions, your entire life, is yours to claim. Now go out there and live like it.